The Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power Season 1 ran into an issue when it aired in 2022, but the coming installment could avoid the problem this time around. The Amazon Lord of the Rings prequel TV show sits in an unusual place canonically, but that didn't stop fans of the franchise from watching in their droves. The impending arrival of The Rings of Power Season 2 proves how successful the first set of episodes was, but it can be even more of a triumph if it takes one simple step. The Rings of Power cast bring a version of J.R.R. Tolkien's legendary universe to life, with events taking place centuries before the books or the movies. The show's place in the Lord of the Rings timeline is one of the few facets that's largely agreed upon by fans. Due to the Rings of Power's restricted access to the source material for legal reasons, the canon of the show has already veered from established lore several times. Regardless, a second season is coming, and it needs to sidestep a clash with one of its biggest competitors. The Rings of Power Season 1's release date was too close to House of the Dragons. The Game of Thrones prequel's release schedule overlapped with The Rings of Power. The Rings of Power was one of the best TV shows on Amazon Prime Video in 2022, and it drew a lot of comparisons with House of the Dragon when both shows were being released. The two shared much more than a genre label, although that also contributed to them being constantly compared. As well as both prequel shows being set before established fantasy franchises, The Rings of Power Season 1's release schedule almost perfectly overlapped with the House of the Dragons. House of the Dragon started its 10-episode run on August 21, 2022. After just 2 episodes of House of the Dragon, The Rings of Power released 2 at once on September 1, 2022. That meant that each show released an episode within a few days of the other for a notable string of weeks before both ended in October. The fact that both shows were being aired weekly only led to even more comparisons between them. While there were fans who enjoyed both shows, The House of the Dragon was of a higher quality than The Rings of Power. So, while The House of the Dragon benefited by being made to look better by comparison, The Rings of Power suffered the opposite fate. The Lord of the Rings spin-off was a very good show in its own right, but it was hurt by being released almost simultaneously with a direct competitor. The Rings of Power Season 2 must avoid the release mistake that hurt Season 1. The two fantasy shows both need room to breathe. Although there were undeniable similarities between The Rings of Power and House of the Dragon, the two shows were also different in key ways. The disparities in the shows were partially overlooked due to the similar release schedules, although they were thankfully on separate streaming platforms. The House of the Dragon Season 2 release month has already been revealed to be June 2024. However, The Rings of Power Season 2 has yet to receive an official release date,